I can never quite tell if the show starts when I'm already giggling, but I think today probably did. What's happening, everybody? It's Fantasy NBA Today. I'm Dan Besbris, live edition, Friday, joined, as always, by the stern but fair Aaron Bruski, who is either losing his vision. What's that look?
You know, I wonder, did we get hacked? Because the tweet that goes out from YouTube is in some form of, I don't know what language that is.
Is it? What are you talking about? What went out?
It's a tweet for the show, and so this is tech jargon.
Oh, I see what you're talking.
Do you see what I'm talking about? This happened with Jordan the other night, and I was like, "Hey, Jordan, you know what? Hey, don't send those crazy tweets out, you know."
Oh, look at that.
But that's not your tweet.
No, so that's the automated one that goes out when we start the show. And then for some reason, I mean, the link, it's translating from Arabic, and apparently it's correct. So it's sending out the correct information in Arabic. So
that's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, our account language has gone to Arabic, but when I click on it in Google Chrome, it says, "Hey, do you need to translate this?" And when I click to translate, it's just saying, you know, so-and-so is available at YouTube, and it's a link to our show.
So that's Arabic.
Yeah, so it's the correct tweet in very much the wrong language for our target listenership.
Well, no. We have some Arabic listeners. I don't know what the percentages are, but you know, at least we're serving somebody at this point.
It's low-ish, I think. Let's see what happens if I click on the like button. Sometimes that sends out an automated tweet. No, nothing happened there. So yeah, that's weird. I think, Aaron, you and I may have to check out the Hoopball Media back end and see who in there. And listen, this is like when you try to help your parents fix their computer, right? You get that call at the middle of the night that's like, Dan, my screen is upside down.
We're tweeting in Arabic. We don't know what we're doing.
Tweeting in Arabic. So somebody fat-fingered something, right? Like they were trying to set something.
I'm going to blame Jordan.
Yeah, put it on Jordan. That's fine. He's not here to defend himself.
Damn you, Jordan.
Jordan switching our language to Arabic. We should really send out automated tweets in a new language every week. So congratulations. Happy New Year, everyone. It's Arabic week here at Hoopball. We don't speak it, but we do tweet it. By the way, that's at Hoopball Tweets if you want to see the Arabic tweet we're talking about, and or get all the live injury updates and other new post-game info from the Hoopball Twitter account. How do you like that for a segue?
That's a great segue. I was going to say we should put this start of our show in our Hall of Fame, in the Hoopball Hall of Fame of great television.
Listen, we've had worse. And I don't know if we've had better. This is a pretty good one for us. I've also gone camera silent to this point because it's Fun T-Shirt Friday. So I'm going for the big reveal. Let's see if I can angle my camera properly so that when I officially turn it on, it shows the T-shirt and not my ugly mug. And here we go. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Get a good look at that.
There it is. This is how I roll.
And that's a toilet paper roll.
That is how you roll, Dan.
Yeah. You know, I do have a problem with this shirt, though. And the problem is that you can see clearly that the toilet paper is on the inside of where the roll is affixed to the countertop. So this is actually not how I roll. I would flip that. I prefer the toilet paper to be on the outside of the roll.
Yeah, we have gotten an update, and I do like I like your shirt a lot. I think it really does represent the best of Dan Besbris. Oh, you got a haircut too. That a guy?
No, actually, do you want me to explain what's gone wrong with my hair? Because I talked about it on my Wednesday show with Zane.
But please, by all means, do tell.
So I have I have a bacterial infection in my scalp. That's the short version of it. The longer version, which will actually make you laugh harder, is that I went to see a dermatologist about it because it was something that there was like a little thing in July that just popped up, and it was this sort of, it didn't have any sensation, just a little bump. And I thought, well, whatever, you know, I'm an old man now. I get bumps on my head. I get, you know, aches and pains and whatnot. And it didn't really change for like 2 to 2.5 months. So I ignored it. Then I moved home after the baseball season, and I went to see a friend of ours who's a dermatologist, and he said, that, sir, is an age spot on your scalp. And I thought, okay, well, fine. I'm having a kid. Obviously, I'm an old man now. And he froze it off. He just blasted it. Boom. And off it came a few weeks later. I thought, okay, cool. Resume normal life. Well, after that, 2 popped up. So then I'm like, okay, I don't think this is actually an age spot. And I went to see a dermatologist that focuses more on like infectious disease stuff. And he was like, oh, well, I've seen this before. This is a bacterial infection. Generally, you see this in the homeless population, he told me. And I'm going, so what am I? I'm going to blame Bakersfield on this one because, I was in this squalid little studio apartment that I don't know when the last time was. It was cleaned. I'm sure I touched something in there and then scratched my scalp. So anyway, what you're seeing this morning, besides my very fun T-shirt, is the fact that I have to put like a glycerin-based goo in my hair to dissolve things. And as a result, it makes me look sort of Pat Riley-esque in some capacity.
I was going to say there's no way you can really improve on the show's opening, but I think we just did with the way that you described all of that. I feel very in touch with your hair. Like, I understand what's going on with your hair, with the bacterial infection on your head that you got from your apartment in Bakersfield. And also, I like the way that your shirt represents kind of you. It's a clean roll of toilet paper. It's clean, but it has the potential to get shitty.
Yeah, it's sort of where I bottom out.
Hey, we got a message from Riaz. He said that his wife can translate that.
Really?
Yeah, and it basically means Dan Besbris sucks ass.
How many censors am I going to have to use on this show, Aaron? I tried it.
No, I'm sorry, I misread that. It actually means direct broadcast began on.
Oh, so it's accurate. So it's tweeting the right thing. It's just tweeting it in a weird language for us.
Yeah, it's absolutely correct.
I'll be darned. Okay, so this seems like a setting that we could probably fix. The question is how,
or do we want to?
Do we want to? Yeah, I think next week we're going to Korean. Is that next on the language chart?
They don't have a setting that just says like random.
That's pretty sweet. That's like back when Wikipedia came out and a bunch of stoned college kids were clicking the, I feel lucky button just to see what the next one. I'm just going to sit on Wikipedia and click random, see what pops up.
I'm telling you, Dan, it doesn't sound at all like you've done that.
Well, come on. We've all done that, haven't we? You've clicked the random button, Bruski. Don't deny it.
I don't know. Maybe once or twice.
Yeah, you've clicked the random button, you sick son of a gun. So anyway, welcome to the show, everybody. It's Fantasy NBA Today. It's our fantastic Fun Shirt Friday. This is how I roll in reverse. We've had a week of basketball to talk about. My head is falling off. Our pets' heads are falling off. I don't even really know. I think I'm pretty good at transitioning from one topic to another, but to move from Arabic tweet, toilet paper T-shirt, and my bacterial scalp to NBA.
Segue that, damn it. Segue.
Complicated one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a clean break with the opening. And I'm going to start the middle part of the show right now. The meaty core begins at this exact moment. So, Aaron, I'm turning it over to you because Friday we do our little hoopball State of the Union. What's going down over at HB Central?
Well, when I stop dying laughing over here and maybe wake up a little bit, we are maneuvering for the first of the year. And so it is kind of a State of the Union-y type time for the year. To use that completely incorrectly, but we have DFS is the big kind of focus for us. We've got a product that we partnered with called Roto Tracker that we're going to start pumping out a lot of basic blatant advertising on, and it's great if you play DFS. And right now, John Schifferly's been using it for us, quite frequently and tracking how he's doing. He's doing very well with his Schifferly's picks. And all of our DFS guys are going to lock into that system and really use it to its potential to win. I mean, that's what it's all about. I'm not a DFS guy, so I have to focus on season-long stuff so I don't misrepresent myself as an expert. As we've known, what I do is I win like 8 times in a row, and then I lose everything on my 9th try. because I refuse to believe that I can possibly lose. So I will not be, at least until I take it seriously. One day, who knows, maybe I'll take DFS seriously, but we're getting some DFS content going. That's a big deal for us. We're also coming out with and they're making me include my name in it, the Hoop Ball box score breakdown with Aaron Bruski is going to be debuting possibly next week.
We didn't go with the belly busting Bruski box score breakdown.
We could have, but it might have gotten sad. The show could have taken a sad turn because I have, like that character from Dodgeball, eaten myself into a massive weight gain. It's pissing me off.
Yeah, but seem jolly though.
That's on the outside, Dan. On the inside, it's a lot of tears and suffering. No, it's the belly busting part. We got to get rid of the belly. You can't be unhealthy, people. You got to stop eating the sugar and the carbs. And a big shout out to Jody Genesee, one of our colleagues, friends. He's lost like 150 pounds just simply cutting out the sugar and carbs. And a great example for people that might feel like they've gained too much weight out there. And so yeah, the belly busting. I don't want anything to do with the belly busting. Bruski box score breakdown on hoopball.com. I don't want anything to do with that.
What if the belly busting is a picture of your co-host here on the show dressed as Don Nelson?
Now we're talking. And I've seen the picture, and every email he sends me now has changed from Don Nelson with the pose. There's a good belly. There's a good belly that you can't see here that Don Nelson exposed to the public. That would be the image I would see every time Dan emails me. Now I get Dan dressed as Don Nelson. It's just as riveting, people. So what we need, the shilling part is we need you to rate and review our podcast. And do you know how to tell them how to do that, Dan? You seem to be an expert on this.
So I've figured out a couple of ways that it can actually be done now. I did a little bit of sleuthing on my own. The easiest way, because mobile devices are so ubiquitous now, is if you have an iPhone, you just pull up the podcast app on your iPhone, search for Fantasy NBA Today, and one of the options, I think you can subscribe there, you can rate and review there. I think there are probably other things you can do there. You can probably report us for talking about my bacterial scalp if you feel so inclined. You can also do it on a computer, provided you have iTunes on that machine. So I was trying to do it from my laptop at one point, didn't have iTunes on that computer, couldn't figure out why I wasn't able to get to that page where you could subscribe and rate the show. Went to my desktop PC, which does have the program on it, and there it's pretty easy. If you go to the website that I've been tweeting out, that Hoopball's been tweeting out, there's a button that says View in iTunes on any of the episodes or on the show itself, and that'll bring it up in your iTunes program. Again, you can rate, review, you can write a review, you can give stars, you can subscribe there, you can listen to shows there. So for those that prefer the comfort of a sort of an old-fashioned computing machine, I know I actually do, that's where you can review it there. I haven't figured out the Android thing yet. I'm behind the times. I don't have.
Do we even care about Android users?
I care about them. I just don't know how to tell them to do these things. So you're free to figure it out on your own if you feel so inclined. If not, just listen to the show and don't scratch your head with bacteria on your finger.
Excellent advice, Dan.
And yeah, so we're close actually, because last week, going into the holiday break here, we said if we got 5 new ratings, I would reveal that Don Nelson photo, and we're at 4 out of 5. Which is frankly not bad considering everybody is on vacation right now and there's like 8 of you still listening. So thanks, because most of you are reviewing the show.
And I'll add this. If we can get 5 reviews today, we'll open up the draft guide at a sales price, or probably the in-season membership. We'll do it at a sales price for the rest of the year.
So that's 5 new ones today?
5 new ones. 5 new ones. We would never take away the progress that you guys have made in seeing Dan dressed up as Don Nelson. We would never do that to you.
Here's the thing, though, and the thing that I think will disappoint people a lot is that in the original Don Nelson photo, the one that was my profile picture for so many years, there was navel, and then there was like an inch to an inch and a half of belly on either side of it. If you were measuring like navel and belly distance revealed in the Don Nelson photograph, and in mine, there's no actual navel revealed because it's a pillow in there, and I feel like that would sort of, if I were to have pulled my shirt up in the photo, it sort of ruined the illusion that I was an overweight 60-year-old. when in fact I was 19 and I weighed about a buck 05.
You either sound like a Sacramento Bee columnist or you've thought about this way too much.
I've thought about it way too much.
But if we get to 30 reviews on iTunes, we'll open up the in-season premium membership, normally $29.99. The pricing for this in January is actually going to go down to $24.99. We're going to open it up at a sales price of $19.99 for you guys.
So we need 5 reviews today or over the weekend?
No, how many? I said 30. We need 30 total. Where are we at right now?
I've got us at 24. So 6 new ones by what time?
When we get the 30th, when it shows on iTunes, we get the 30th, then I'll flip on the sales price right away for $19.99, and I will keep it open for 3 days.
That's very. You seem quite certain of this. So anyway,
3 days, maybe 4.
So I got distracted there. We were talking a little bit about the not belly busting Bruski box score breakdown presented by Football. So that, and this is part of the nebulous part of creating a new podcast, is that there have to be shows before you can get it on all the podcast channels. So if you're a listener of this program, we'll tell you when that first show is available, and we'll tell you how to find it. And then after a few days, it'll become much easier, because then we can submit that show to iTunes and Android and Stitcher and tune in and all those things. And then, after a week or so, it'll kind of be available everywhere. But Aaron, you're basically just going to be looking at the box scores at the end of the night and telling everybody anything interesting that happened on that specific evening, right?
You get an hour with this guy.
Yes. What a treat.
It is awesome. Let me tell you about it. I do it all the time. I can't get enough of it. And I'm really looking forward to having you guys spend this hour with me after the games, breaking it down with a belly-busting box score breakdown brought to you by hoopball.com. It is going to be awesome. It
actually is. And all jokes aside, it's going to be great, because it's another one of those things that's only available kind of in limited spheres in the fantasy world. In most instances, in fact, even in this one, Fantasy NBA Today, this is a show we do the following morning, talking about the stuff that happened the night before. But Aaron's going to be looking at those box scores as they finish. He'll probably start recording the show at like 9:15 Pacific time, and by the time you get done, you'll have that last game over. Boom, you're done recording. You shoot that over to the production team at Hoopball. It's out there on the internet in 15 minutes, and people can listen to it before they go to bed at night. So you're ready to go when that clock strikes midnight and you're ready to be the first person making a move in your league. You've already got Aaron's breakdown of the games that night. I'm guessing, too, Aaron, that show will fluctuate in length quite a bit based on how many games there are. It's not going to be one of those programs that's just an hour every night.
I'm going to have to learn how to shut up. It's going to be rough. I'm not going to lie. I can get long-winded. I could explain how long-winded I am in a long-winded way.
Yeah, continue.
Did you see Inside the NBA last night? Was classic. Kevin Garnett gets at, he's figuring himself out on the show. He's not exactly production grade just yet. But, when you have a talent like that, you put him in the game and you let him make mistakes, you let him learn, and that's how players develop. But he went on this long rant of, like, they asked him, is the big man going to die? Is the big man gone? And he went on like this massive answer, and then Barkley interrupts him. He tells him to shut up. Everybody laughed. And then KG did the same thing to Barkley later in the show. We get long-winded. I don't even remember what I was talking about right now. So I'm going to work on that, but it's going to be an hour of hardcore fantasy analysis. We're going to get right down to brass tacks. It's going to be good. I mean, I used to do a Bruski breakdown that would take, and I'm still going to be doing Bruski breakdowns in the future here. But that would take a good 8 to 9 hours, to write and have ready for you guys in the morning after a busy Wednesday night. And the spoken word will help get all of that same information, condense it, and get it to you guys, hopefully in 60 minutes on a busy night. But yeah, it might vary.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about what happened on Thursday night. We'll blitz through this, and then we'll try to get to the biggest questions in our chat room. By the way, if you're watching this show and you don't see the chat room, it should be over on the right side of your YouTube page. You can pop it out if you so choose. And get us those questions too. It's this is your opportunity, our once a week live, and effectively it's like a live preview, because every night for the premium subscribers, Hoopball Pros are available for the live Q&A. So just kind of another reason to reach out and grab some of that good stuff. But Aaron, your Miami Heat, and I like to refer to them as your Miami Heat because I know you've been collecting them all, not unlike our old buddy Vincent and his Pokemon. Soon you will have every Miami Heat on your team, and it's starting to pan out a little bit. Tyler Johnson's been very good for about a month straight. Josh Richardson is now posting back-to-back 20-point games. He looks a little bit more confident out there. Hassan Whiteside had a bit of a down game, but kind of where you see this team going from here, because Dion Waiters now is sort of the one missing piece from a team that was badly injured 3 weeks ago. Is last night an indicator of how things go? Is 3 games back an indicator? Who's going to be the lead dog on this team on a given night? And honestly, how many of them can really post strong lines in any one given ball game?
It's most of them will post strong lines in a given ball game. They're not a good team, so they're going to have nights like this. Charlotte matches up really well with them. Charlotte's a good basketball team, so seeing them struggle does not surprise me at all. And you're just going to have to say, so, if there's 3, 4, 5 fantasy assets, depending on who's healthy and who's not, you're just going to subtract 1 or 2 on a given night are going to struggle. But all of them should be top 150 plays going forward. I mean, I'm sure Justice Winslow owners are freaking out after an 0 for 9. He did get you 5 rebounds and 5 assists, no money counting stats. But this with Winslow is going to be kind of a theme. As they get more hurt, he's going to be required to take more difficult shots, and he will have troubles with his efficiencies. I think when you add it all up at the end, it would be pretty shocking if he doesn't perform at a top 150 level for the remaining games that he's on the floor. So if he does anything right beyond that, then, obviously he can climb up higher than that. And as of right now, he seems healthy. So I think, at a 150 level, he can plod along at a minimum and get you guys, that top 125, top 100 value. Now, if he's slow like that, you might say, okay, well, hey, he's not a must-own guy. Let's wait and see that first. I mean, a lot of people wanted to get rid of Josh Richardson. We begged you guys not to do it. We've called him a must-own player throughout that process, and he's showing why. 20 points, 8 of 14 shooting, 3 of 5 from deep, 4 rebounds, a steal and a block. We get him a little bit healthy, and there's just nothing to stop him from being a top 75 value. So you're going to see this kind of oscillation in the players, whether it's due to durability issues or not. Tyler Johnson is another one that people were iffy on in the beginning of the year. He had 18.7 boards, 5 assists, and a whole lot, 5 money counting stats. So you just got to be patient with these guys. James Johnson went 2 of 7 from both the field and the foul line last night, and but he still got a steal and a block. 4 rebounds, 2 assists in 18 minutes. They don't appreciate when James Johnson does a bunch of dumb stuff, but even at 18 minutes a game, he's going to probably hold that floor for you. He's going to play a lot more than that going forward. So, just don't worry about it. Dragic, he might not play tonight. I don't think he will play at all. He was not supposed to play last night, was the word after the game. So there's just any one injury is going to put these guys into a max minute scenario. Just got to hold on. Hold your Heat assets.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know you've got a few of them. So let me ask the question that I think the listeners probably ask as a follow-up is, who do you see as, let's ignore Whiteside and Dragic because they're sort of the obvious ones. Of the remaining collection, Waiters, Winslow, Johnson, and Richardson, I don't want to say rank them, but I guess maybe that's the easy way of saying it. Is it Johnson, Richardson, Winslow, Waiters? I guess there's 2 Johnsons in there, huh? How do you stack those guys up?
I think you're going to go Tyler Johnson he's the leader in the clubhouse for that 3rd spot. He's been consistent. He's producing on a night-to-night basis. He doesn't seem like he's as injured as the rest of the guys, though. He's still going to get dinged up. He has been getting dinged up, and he's in that stage of his career where he will continue to get dinged up and get up off the floor and play. He's got this shoulder issue. There's obviously a big red flag there. But so far, he seems to be the safest asset. I think Richardson has a little bit more upside because his percentages can get real good, and he's strong in the money counting stat areas. So between that and the potential for him to increase his production by playing the point guard position, something that Johnson's already doing versus Richardson, they're kind of feeling him out. I'm not sure that that's a good thing for Richardson, but it could be. His efficiency might slip as a result of playing point guard, and the extra assist won't be worth it. But it's going to go Johnson, then Richardson. I would probably go Winslow after that over James Johnson, just because I think that James Johnson's cap is about 26 minutes. He has injury issues himself, but I don't see him having a shot at top 75 value or beyond. Whereas Winslow, he's going to be kind of the man there. He's got a lot of standing within the organization. He's got a lot of experience. He could be playing 35 minutes per night, and I don't think anybody would be surprised by that. And all he needs is one or two things to get figured out. And mostly I think he has to play with a lot of shooters, so he doesn't feel compelled to take a lot of long-distance shots. He needs to have a lot of space so he can start to get to the hoop using some of his strength and straight line drive skills. And you saw that in the game he went 8 of 14 the other night, is he's getting to the hole and not relying on so much the dribble drive pull-up game. Those are the things that you look at with Justice Winslow. But I would have Winslow over James Johnson, and all of them as must-own players in standard leagues, 12-team leagues at least. 10-team leagues, you want to argue that Winslow and Johnson don't make the cut. I'm fine with arguing that, but I'm still going to own them in 10-team leagues too.
Dion Waiters is your fifth.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to make it. Just too much of a bad stat set in a standard league.
The opposite side of that ball game, we're starting to see some signs of life out of Marvin Williams. He's sort of hanging in there, and then your good buddy Jeremy Lamb had a couple of decent ball games with Marco Bellinelli out. Can he actually keep that up when Marco's back? Yeah,
I don't think so. With Lamb, the big thing for him is, maybe he does have an aha moment, and then that'll be found money for owners. When they're at full strength, he's going to be probably averaging about 17 minutes per game, which means there's going to be games with 12 minutes. There's going to be games with 22 minutes. But every single player on this squad, with like the exception of Ramon Sessions, is an injury risk at some level. I mean, you got Marvin Williams is old and a career full of injury history. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, self-explanatory. Cody Zeller, knee, shoulder. Kemba Walker, knee. Nicholas Batum, wrist. Frank Kaminsky, foot. Roy Hibbert, knee. It's all the way down the list. So he needs two players to be injured, and he's going to get these 23 minutes that you saw. And he'll have these types of numbers, 10 and 8. He'll probably have a 3 on most nights, and he'll probably get you a steal or two. It all cranks out at 23, 24 minutes per game to be top 150 value. So if he turns a corner, or if guys start falling by the wayside, then you're looking at a guy that's going to be getting 26, 27, 28 minutes per game. And heaven forbid he ever gets 30 minutes. He'll be a top 75 guy, no questions asked.
Marvin Williams has actually been a top 60 guy the last 2 weeks, very quietly, mind you. Top 70, excuse me. Let me correct myself on that one. On the strength of now 1.1 steals. So there's actually a little something going on the defensive side. He's still not blocking anybody, but it's nice to see something in the defensive stats. They just weren't there for the first month and a half of the season.
Weird thing with him is the rebounding. And I think you see Nick Batum had 13 boards last night. Kemba Walker had 7 boards. Schematically, it could be that this might be a trend for a lot of people to watch out for. You see all these triple doubles popping up around the league. Teams are starting to scheme to get their ball handlers the rebounds so they can immediately push. And so that might be a thing. We might have to see how that changes fantasy equations in this league, because Marvin Williams typically gets you about 8-7 boards, something like that. And the one category that's been suspect over this time has been the boards. But yeah, it's Marvin Williams. We've never told you to drop him. We've never told you to worry about his value. He is a top 70 guy in 9 cat leagues on a go forward basis. And then in a 8 cat league, something like top 90. So he's on waiver wires all over the place. Just go pick him up.
I spent a lot of time on that ball game because I didn't think we were going to spend all that much on the next one. Memphis beat the daylights out of Oklahoma City in a blowout game. So generally tougher to figure out anything to draw away from that. on the fantasy landscape. Other than, with Memphis, you sort of get a different guy stepping up every night. And with Mike Conley out, they needed a few guys to do so yesterday, and sure enough, they did.
Yeah, I think there was some cool news. Well, not cool. It's actually bad news. But Mike Conley has a toe. Speaking of infections, he has a toe infection.
I know just the stuff to rub on it. It's oily.
There you go. Memphis, just call up Dan Besbris and get a plane ticket out to Memphis. He will take care of Mike Conley for you. He is I get I get concerned anytime I hear infection as an injury type for a player. I mean, you remember David Lee missed 2 months because of an elbow infection. Now, this doesn't sound like it's that. He had his foot stepped on, and so it sounds like his toenail got ripped off, and that's painful sounding. But some sort of an infection has kept him out, and we tweeted that out or we blurbed that last night. And I don't know if the other sites were able to pick that up because it was tucked away in an AP recap, which is how we roll here at Hoopball.
Thorough. Very
thorough. Exactly. So he is that could completely change the entire equation for the Grizzlies if he's out more than a day or a week or whatever have you, because you get Point Gasol. We didn't see the assists out of him last night. He only had 2, but he had 20 shot attempts, so he's handling the ball a lot. Tony Allen continues to just kind of roll along wrecking fantasy leagues because you picked him up for nothing, and he's out there probably at a top 70 level if I had to guess. 8 and 9 for him with 2 steals and 5 turnovers to show you how much he's handling the ball. You got Andrew Harrison had a late round line, and so that is important news. Chandler Parsons, that news was 2 points, 3 assists, 2 steals, 15 minutes. I wrote that blurb last night, so go check it out. It's going to be about 2 weeks, I think. If we don't start to see the per minute numbers, even if he's getting 15 minutes, 20 minutes, he's got to follow that same trajectory as Derek Favors, who we'll hit on later, where the minutes are improving on a night-to-night basis. He's got to get the numbers, though, because he's got to be a top 75 guy after the break for this to make any sense at all as a hold right now. So I think we'll know if he's going to be a per minute guy or not within the next 2 weeks or so. So that's a little rough for Chandler Parsons in his outlook. He's still a mustache guy, but we need some graphics. Where's Aaron Ahmad on the graphics?
Yeah, somebody get us the mustache graphic.
It's pop up right over my head.
We're working on it, everybody. We're working on it.
But yeah, that's what I'm watching for with the Grizzlies, and then the Thunder. I don't know. Was it Roberson? Was the only other player that was worth talking about there? And and you get JaMychal Green. He's a guy that you could own right now with Conley out, but not a lot going on in that game.
Yeah, not a lot going on in that game. High scoring. The next game we were going to talk about, but frankly, in my estimation, not a ton going on in this one either. Boston and Cleveland, and sort of the only story in this one was Jonas Jerebko had 12 and 7 in 17 minutes, but that hardly feels sustainable.
Yeah, that's rough when we're going to the Jonas Jerebko had 12 and 7 line. The only thing it was just amazing to me that Kyrie limped off the floor, and they were so sure that it was just a cramp after the game. And I mean, legitimately, to a reporter, they all shared that same sentiment that it was just a cramp and that he's not even going to show up on the injury report. I mean, he walked off at halftime holding his right hamstring. We put video of that out, and then we put the video of him walking out of his interview with David Aldridge. David Aldridge says, yeah, you've been having problems with your right hamstring. How did it feel? Or something like that. And he's, oh, yeah, it hurts or whatever. I had some soreness, and, they're clearly talking about a hamstring. But after the game, we're talking that it was a hamstring cramp. And anybody that's ever dealt with hamstring issues in their life, Kaz is a sprinter. We had an extensive conversation about hamstrings on the Kaz and Brew show one day. You just don't mess around with those things.
Yeah, it's weird. If it was anything worse, it seems very odd that he would be playing through it, right? Is that the other side of that argument?
Yeah, I mean, it just, especially with the way that team's set up and how they're currently injured, and you just don't want to compound on top. Say he's gets injured for 3 weeks, and now you got LeBron and Kevin Love, first round value Kevin Love, who then they have to potentially get more exposed to injury. So not a good situation, but he's going to play Saturday. I mean, they were unequivocal about that he's not even going to hit the injury report. So that's a bullet dodged, and that was the only news from that game that really other than that, Kevin Love is a first-round value, and I don't think that's sunk in yet for 9Cat owners. That Kevin Love is a first-round value.
Yeah, he's just bombing away this year. He's been a force, and which is really interesting too, because they were about ready to put a finals loss right on his shoulders last season, and then all of a sudden, Kevin Love is doing just fine. Hey, how about that next ball game? You want to talk about how Toronto brought their A game to Phoenix after getting whomped in Golden State the night before?
Yeah, trap game. Yeah, that's not very Toronto-like, but I have no idea how that happened. I still don't know. And I mean, you look at the stat lines for the guards for Phoenix, and you're like, oh yeah, they definitely lost. But no. I mean, Eric Bledsoe turned it over 8 times, and then Devin Booker is MIA. He is a complete and total mess. And it's shot selection and it's tempo of that offense and a little bit of extra attention from defenses because there's not a lot going on in other positions that they have to worry about. But I think Devin's bringing this on himself. Like, he is too worried about kind of taking that next step of being a superstar, and he needs to just kind of calm down and take what the offense gives him. Unfortunately, I don't know that Earl Watson is actually going to be a good thing for his development at this point. There's just too many weird things that happen that you can't explain them. And I think when you have teams that are in this spot where the coaches want to tinker and nobody's kind of good enough to say, okay, this is my spot, everybody get away, so that you can start to build continuity. These are the types of train wrecks that happen. You had hoped that talent would win out, and that he would be shooting 45% from the field or even 42. But no, he's shooting 40.
Oof.
At 17, 18 shots per game. He's a top 110 value in 8-cat leagues and a top 175 value in 9-cat leagues.
Yeah, I'm going to give myself just the tiniest little pat on the back because I got in a preseason argument with the Miracle Man on a podcast about how I was way less excited about Devin Booker than everyone else, just because he looked like a popcorn guy in watching him when he sort of had the team at his disposal last year. And I was like, look, guys don't just become steals, blocks, and threes guys overnight. Now, obviously, Booker can shoot the three. That wasn't the question mark. It was, can he do things besides score? And I just, I wasn't going to be the guy in my league to go draft him and hope that precedent does not sort of mean anything. Because you tend to see guys, they sort of are what they are. Are you a steals guy? Are you a blocks guy? These things don't usually just pop up overnight. Obviously, with a young guy, sometimes they do, but not often. And he's showing that with this sort of burden to bear, he's very much a points, high volume kind of guy.
Yeah, the thing, and I was on the other side of that. And I was also last year telling people don't buy the Devin Booker stuff because he was a popcorn guy, because he was inefficient, because he was all these things. I was clear about that. And then this preseason, I said, you know what, I see this kind of spark to his game. And I think that this is the type of thing where you see this improvement across the board, a la Giannis Antetokounmpo, where it's just the talent wins out and it's like almost unprojectable in a way where you can't say, okay, he's going to have this increase in like 9 different categories and make it some crazy increase. He's, basically failing on every single level. He's improved his minutes per game by 6. He's gone from, or basically 5.5. He's gone from 27.7 to 33.1. He's in the process shooting the ball nearly 6 more times per game. He's at a 2% decrease in field goal percentage. He has had a 2% decrease in 3-point percentage. And then across the board, he's barely increased his rebounds. He has barely increased his assists. So more or less, he's at the same rates as his rookie year. And this is where you see players typically have pretty big jumps, is in years 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and so on and so forth. So he's not improving at all. He's just shooting a whole hell of a lot more, and he's not making any of them.
That he had a worse clip. But
here's the good news is this is completely buy low territory for the guy. His owners are completely fed up. I own him in too many spots, and I'm completely fed up.
Well, you're stuck. You're stuck. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, but I mean, a player of his caliber, even if he takes on a shooting increase like that, a volume increase like that, should at least hold his field goal percentage.
Yeah,
but not this. So he's going to jump. He'll have a 4 to 5 point jump from here to the rest of the season, to the end of the season, and that will be the kicker. The only questions that I have is can Earl Watson screw that up?
Probably is the answer to that question. I have two other things I want to talk about in this ball game. One more on the Phoenix side, and it's the whole Tyson Chandler, Alex Len thing, because that's now seemingly come back into the onto the radar, I guess, or sort of into focus. I was reading, as I try to read what other websites are saying to see sort of where I may differ or where Hoopball may differ, and now there's this free Alex Len movement that's starting. Have these people watched Alex Len?
No.
This
is he's not developing.
No, he's
getting worse.
Have you ever seen a man that big shoot that poorly?
I mean, trying to think. Somebody in Sacramento, I'm sure, has done that, but yeah, it's hard to watch him. And again, this is where Earl Watson is really hard to get behind. You want to be behind young coaches, especially the ones that have the support of teams like San Antonio. And it's not good right now for him. He's not good. On
the floor. So why should we see more of him?
Well, no, I don't think you should. Yes, you want to say, hey, Tyson Chandler shouldn't be playing for this squad because he shouldn't. He should go play for a contender. But they made that bed. They're in that. I don't know how they get out of that, if they can get out of that. But Alex Len has to play on the block. He needs to. This was a conversation last night on Inside the NBA. Is you have Dan D'Antoni's rant on analytics that went viral yesterday, and he talked about how stupid it is to take post-up shots. Well, if that's what you want to sell, then go ahead and tell me how many championships your brother has. But the reality of it is that when you put the ball into the post, you exert pressure on defenses in ways that aren't necessarily quantified in the simplistic comparison of what a corner three is versus a post-up shot. We all know that corner three is more valuable.
Anybody that makes a blanket statement about what you should be doing to win an NBA ball game is not looking at the personnel on a team. Not every team has Steve Nash. Not every team has James Harden. You can't just run that offense with this team. And just like the same deal, you can't run this offense with that team. Like Houston would be terrible if they played through the post.
But you get a corner three by going into the post or running some sort of other action. You don't just go walk over to the corner and shoot your three and say, okay, I'd like to take this shot now. I hear it's really valuable. Or, hey, better yet, can I get an uncontested layup? Because I hear I make 1.7 points per possession on uncontested layups. Can I get one of those, please? And with Alex Len,
you're talking about the world in general right now. Everybody wants a really simple answer to really complicated questions. So
and numbers do that for you. Numbers, and this is kind of the analytics discussion in a nutshell. It's funny because we're fantasy guys, and we work with numbers constantly. And I'll be the first one to tell you that this analytics discussion is dumb. It's like, yes, these shots are worth more, but no, you can't just have them. And so, like with Alex Len, to bring it full circle, this is a guy that has moved further and further away from the hoop with his game as the years have gone on. Some of that's been because of Tyson Chandler's presence, because Earl Watson wants to play him and Alex, the two of them together, and you don't gain any advantage. It's not like you're beating opposing teams down low because of the way that you're deploying Tyson Chandler and Alex Len. You're not. You might win on the glass a little bit, but are we even sure that's a true statement? But conversely, the other teams, which are going small, are able to tear that combination up. So with Alex Len, when he gets center minutes, he's a better fantasy asset, but his game has deteriorated as he has tried to become a more well-rounded player, if we want to put it nicely. And really, he needs to just focus in on, how do I do center things better? Because nobody cares if I'm a 7-foot jump shooting, crappy perimeter big man, which is what the league is developing right now, is crappy perimeter big men. Even a guy like DeMarcus Cousins, bails the defense out every single time he sits out there and does the same crossover move every single time. I mean, you could predict it every single time. If he's going to go right, he's going to cross over left and then come back to the right. It's not good basketball.
Patrick Patterson got hurt last night. Does that change anything in Toronto?
It's a big deal. I have not seen any sort of doomsday injury news come out of that, but the way that he spoke after the game saying he'd never had a knee injury like this, that he was a little bit concerned that there was a sharp pain. These are all signs that there is some sort of an issue there. They might give him rest. They might say, okay, let's get an MRI. Let's do, a minor scope. I think this is a tough position for this Raptor squad because they know they're going to get Jared Sullinger back within like 3 to 4 weeks. So do they try to bridge the gap, have him play through the pain? They won't have depth issues or quite as many depth issues once Sullinger does get back. So how they play it in the meantime is going to be interesting. But yeah, I think that he is in some trouble. And then Terrence Ross is there's 2 interesting pickups here, but Terrence Ross is the one that we haven't been harping on. So we'll harp on it here a little bit. He's been a top 100 to 140 guy in the year and something like 19 minutes per game. And it was always hard to get behind him in an 8-cat league because, he's basically low-end material that you really can do better than. But now with the potential of getting more minutes, it's like you have your late round floor and then you have your upside after that. He got 30 minutes last night, didn't have a big points and boards game. He only went 1 of 7 from 3, so he could have had a better production from the scoring and 3-point shooting side, but he had like 4 steals and a block. Point being with all of this, if you have a late round floor and mid round upside, that's a no-brainer. He's a must-own guy in my opinion right now. And that's not even on the 9-cat side, but he's already given you top 100 value. This is no-brainer territory, so he's a must-own guy. And even if we get news that Patrick Patterson is going to be healthy and he's going to play, it's the type of risk that you have to take as a fantasy owner with a pickup. The other one is Mr. Top 70 himself, Bebe Nogueira. I am just shocked. There's like nobody else out there saying he's a must-own guy. He's got like 25 games under his belt as a top 70, 80 performer. And now you get the potential that he could play even more minutes if Patrick Patterson's out. He had a perfect Bebe line last night. 0 points, 0 rebounds, and then like a steal and 2 blocks or 2 steals and a block. He's averaging 2.8 combined steals and blocks per game. That is why he's so valuable. He gets you boards. He's not going to shoot a lot. He's hitting like 77% of his free throws. So there's actually a something to work with here in terms of upside. He could be an early round guy. It's not hard to see it at all. And so the fact that he's even on a waiver wire means people aren't paying attention. So I don't know what's going on with that.
Nobody pays attention. That's where hopefully, it's frustrating to see because you feel like everybody could be given a better effort out there. But it's also where we can hopefully give people the edge that listen to this program. Philly and Utah, you had mentioned Derek Favors earlier in the show. I feel like you had more thoughts on him.
Just that he's doing good. I get a lot of questions. I got one last night in the premium chat was, is he a buy low target? And it's a pretty interesting question because you got, he's at a discount because of the injury risk. And what we came up with in the chat was that he's going to be rated in the marketplace as like a top 100 guy with probably top 75 upside. I don't think anybody's willing to sign him top 50 upside just yet, but that's kind of what the market bears. And if we feel like he's progressing in his rehab, and it does seem like he is, then maybe this is the time to gamble. If you can give up a top 100 asset, if somebody's like, I want to get out of the Derek Favors business, I feel like he's ranked as a top 100 guy, or that's what the market bears. I'll take a top 100 guy like a Jordan Clarkson in return, something like that. I think it's a decent bet. If you're going to bet on an injured asset, like a 55-45 coin flip at a poker table, I think that with Derek Favors that makes sense. But other than that, just getting on the court, staying on the court for 25 minutes, getting 12 rebounds, all that stuff is a big deal. So he had a good night last night.
We also had a quietly decent night who actually showed signs of life. He took his 22 minutes and he was effective. was our good friend Nerlens Noel, who had 14 points, 6 rebounds, and a steal. I'll tell you what I was worried about in this game, Aaron, was that this was going to be his one chance to get out on the floor and do something, and he was going to try to do too much. And he actually played within himself. He had a pretty effective ball game. He didn't go crazy. Obviously, Philly got whomped by a much better Utah team who, I mean, with George Hill healthy on that side, Utah is just steamrolling people. But what does this do for Nerlens? Does this buy him a couple extra minutes going forward? Is this the showcase game that they were waiting to just deploy him in, and then hopefully they can get him traded? We heard that Jahlil Okafor is dealing with some soreness, but it doesn't sound like it's going to cost him any time. That center situation deserves a once-a-week look from us, I think, right?
Yeah, it does. And here's the thing with Nerlens Noel. And we were training a guy yesterday. He's exposed to all the other websites that are out there, and everybody's kind of been down on Nerlens. And so he wrote something. It was like, not quite as high as maybe you or I are on Nerlens Noel. And I was like, hey, we're pretty high on Nerlens around here. You should learn. We are very high on Nerlens Noel.
Don't buy the anti-hype when this.
Yeah, but that's out there, and you know what? It's fine. It's everybody's opinions are valid, and there's definitely something to be said for the fact that there's challenges here. But I think the story with this Sixers team is that there are multiple ways that Noel can get over 20 minutes per game, and the steals and blocks are the cornerstone of his game. That's what's going to be there no matter what. The points and the boards and all that stuff, it's all pretty consistent with him. So if he has multiple paths to getting 20 minutes, and what are those paths? Well, we got a guy named Joel Embiid that didn't play for 2 years. You got Jahlil Okafor, who's had knee issues, and he's just kind of not out of maybe he's out of shape. Whatever the issue is with him, he's not profiling like a durable, healthy big man for the rest of his career. And you kind of go down the list. Ersan Ilyasova isn't exactly a spring chicken. There's ways that you can see without them making a trade that he gets his 20 minutes. If he gets his 20 minutes, he's going to be late round value. So I don't understand how we're not at mustache territory.
Yes, excellent. Good, sir. Yeah, I mean, so what do you feel like? I mean, we've talked about the weird situation that's developed there in Philly before on our Friday shows, and how maybe they're trying to get rid of Okafor. Kind of secretly, he's the guy they're attempting to move, but can't because he's just not that good. So, I mean, at some point, doesn't this team have to try to win a ball game? I mean, this is like 4 years where they haven't been trying to win.
This is all on Colangelo. He is going to milk this situation until he feels he can make a trade that's going to look good on him. And that's not good for them. It's not good for the players involved. They got to make a move. Everybody knows that they got to make a move. But this is why you make a move over the summer. Right now, I think people know what they've got in Jahlil Okafor. I don't think anybody wants to be in the Jahlil Okafor business in the NBA. But over the summer, maybe people are, maybe there's enough question marks about his game to where you can actually move him. And no, you don't want to get rid of your, number 3 pick overall and get like a song in return. But you know what? You got to sometimes bite the bullet and make a bad deal.
Yeah. It's time because you got to get your other guy in there.
And I think Noel and Embiid want to play with each other. So that's and I think they can. And I think that's a compelling front court.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why, because both of those guys have the athleticism to roam a little bit, whereas when Okafor roams, he may not find his way back home.
Yeah, and you play it's. I'm not a big fan of playing your center above the 3-point line, but if there's a center out there that can do it, it's Embiid, and you put Noel on the baseline and teach him how to hit a 16-footer and just play that game.
It seems very workable. Where it's not going to be perfect right out of the chute, but what they're trying right now seems like it has almost no chance of working, and yet here we are, just sort of watching them bang their heads against a very tough wall with a very soft head. It's not making much of a dent. Dallas and LA, I don't want to spend a ton of time on this one, if only because, we've sort of talked these two teams into a corner. I spent the better part of a week, Aaron, ranting and raving about how as bad as Dallas has been this year, they're only like 5 games out of a playoff spot. So the fact that, again, I spent the whole week just calling out other websites. So why should I stop on Friday? Why should people be reading these things on other websites that say Dallas is already in tank mode when their starting lineup has a combined age of about 140? You think those guys want to tank? Not a chance. If they can get into the playoffs, they'd love to.
It's not even, they're gearing up for, it's funny, they're gearing up for a playoff run, and it's absolutely what they're doing. And so, no, Justin Anderson's not going to play. No, Dwight Powell's not going to play these next 3 weeks. These are not their weeks. And Seth Curry's not going to play. I don't know. I don't know why people say what they say.
It's a lack of research. It's what I said, I think it was 2 days ago, 3 days ago. I did a solo show, and I was talking about Mavs game, and I got so fed up. I got so hot under the collar that I was like, look, clearly somebody's writing a piece on the Mavericks, and they didn't even have the foresight to look at the standings. Shouldn't that be the first thing you do when you write a team is tanking? That team needs to be like 15 games out with 40 to play at the very worst.
Well,
right?
And not with the pedigree of the Mavs. They are absolutely allergic to tanking. It's been their problem for years.
So why now? They're just as old as they've always been. So
you know what? A lot of times you get kind of elevated in this industry by what letters are in front of your name, what acronyms are in front of your name. But one thing I'll say about fantasy owners is they know good advice when they see it, and that's important. I think I've always said this too. Like, I would take the top 100 listeners, readers, of my work, and really put them up against anybody in the industry in terms of, do they know the game? Do they talk the game correctly? Do they, make good even at a front office level? I mean, I'm still waiting, hey, Vivek, you call me up, man. I think if you took my advice over the last couple of years, you probably would be in a better place. Don't you think? So I would like to see somebody pluck a fantasy owner and stick them in a front office. I think that would be,
that's the ultimate fantasy basketball.
They'd get laughed at. I mean, they would get crushed for the move, and it's fantasy basketball, blah, blah, blah. But I'm the top 100 people. When I get emails, even in our pro service, a lot of people use our pro service and do it because they're super hyper competitive, and the stuff that they're writing to me is as good as anything I'm seeing elsewhere. And so I get, I am proud of the following over the years, where the conversations that I have with people are actually good conversations and add value to what I do on a day-to-day basis. The stuff I see other people deal with out there, they're not playing fantasy. I mean, they're crazy out there. They don't know left from right. But yeah, I don't understand why or where, but I would like to back up and talk about George Hill real quick. I think this is just a massive sell high opportunity on a guy that clearly has injury risk. He's in 12 games, he's a first to second round value. His shooting numbers he's at 55% shooting. He cannot sustain that or anywhere close. He might be able to keep some of his other numbers up. I think if you can get a top 50 guy in return, you just pull the trigger on that.
Yeah, he's been a total monster, but yeah, he's not going to be a top 15 guy at the end of the year.
It's kind of like the Nikola Jokic situation where we're just begging you guys to go out there and do that. Do that with George Hill if you own him.
Dirk Nowitzki ended up sitting out yesterday's ball game with an illness. I also spent the better part of this week kind of guessing on his minute count timeline, and the illness threw off my better guesses because I figured that he'd probably get up around 18 to 20 in yesterday's game. I thought yesterday would be the first time we'd see him play in both halves of a basketball game, but obviously that changes. He might play tonight against the Warriors. They may just take this opportunity to sit him because they don't play again until after the year changes. But I'd actually be comfortable starting Nowitzki next week. I'm that confident that he's just about to round into shape. And maybe
I'm with you on that. I think that he's ready to go. I mean, I think that they gave him that time off so he could be ready to go.
Yeah. Let's take a few questions. It's lightning round time with Aaron Bruski. You ready? How's your seat? Warm?
All right. Well, let me limber up here. Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do this.
Get the neck loose. All right, we're going to blast through these things. Again, as I mentioned last time, we are going to hit the questions that have universal appeal. So if your question is, hey, I got offered a 4-for-3 trade in an 11 category league where we're tracking double doubles, we're probably not going to be able to get to that question. But if you asked a overarching deal that we can knock out in 20 seconds apiece, damn it, we're going to answer that one. First question on the docket is rest of season outlook, D'Angelo Russell, Jordan Clarkson.
That's D'Angelo Russell. I think he'll be a top 50 guy starting in about 3 to 4 weeks.
Do you see Clarkson staying about at his current pace, improving or getting worse?
He's one of these guys that barely ever moves. He'll be a top 80 guy at best.
Would you rather have John Henson or Kyle O'Quinn on your roster?
Come on now. It's going to be John Henson, damn it.
I got to speak no evil on that one. It's, of course, John Henson, especially because we've had reports this week that Milwaukee is still trying to move Greg Monroe. A Darren Collison owner is concerned, and I think rightfully so. So I'll give you a full 60 seconds on this one, Aaron, because Collison's been a total mess. Ty Lawson, but you pointed this one out. You predicted this. Ty Lawson got a chance with the first unit in that last game, and his numbers were clunky too. So It's a situational thing, it seems like.
I cannot understand for the life of me what's going on with the lineups and the rotations. I tweeted some numbers. I mean, you got Matt Barnes is like a net rating of -8. And, you got all these guys that are a net rating of -8, and they've got 2,000 combined minutes this year. You got a guy in Garrett Temple who should be a first, second. I don't think they do third team for defensive teams, but he is one of the best premier perimeter defenders in the league right now. And he's only getting, 750 minutes. They're playing the Kufas lineup, which is Cousins and Kufas. Now, maybe Houston can help Sacramento out of their own way in a trade to get Coast Kufas, which is something I saw flash through Mark Stein's Twitter feed earlier. We'll have to check into the intel on that. But this is all about lineups. It's not about talent. It's talking about practice. I'm not talking about the game. Talk about practice. In practice, Darren Collison is an early round guy. Or let's kind of take the edge off that. We'll say he's an early mid-round guy. When you put him in that lineup where it's impossible for him to do Darren Collison things, he's going to have these kind of really weird stat lines where he's not involved. Ty Lawson, on the other hand, gets to play with Kufas as the center, and he gets to have all this open space. He's not playing in the two center lineups. He gets to go out there and do Ty Lawson things, and so that's why you've seen him surge. So if they do something like put Ty Lawson in the starting lineup but not change the configuration of the bigs, it's going to be Darren Collison that puts up the numbers, and Ty Lawson's going to hit a tough patch, and everybody will be like, I don't understand what's happening here. But this is all the Kufas lineup that really controls the matter. And I think for Darren Collison owners, you just have to really take the long view here and say, okay, what do the Kings need? Well, they need scoring on an every night basis, and that only gets more exasperated if Rudy Gay's not playing. I don't think they can afford to let Darren Collison fizzle. So I'm going to say you hold and you buy low. And at some point in time, they got to get off the Kufas lineup. And when that happens, he's going to go back to putting up the kind of stat lines that you saw him put up under Michael Malone. And you're not going to want to watch somebody else have that on their team.
Normally this is a question that's it's sort of like comparing two guys where I probably would ignore it, but one of them is Jokic. So I'm going to ask the question because, frankly, any question that involves Jokic, I'm probably going to ask. Would you rather have Nikola Jokic or Jimmy Butler on your team right now?
Ooh, you guys are bringing the heat today. I like it.
Miguel he's got an opportunity to send Butler for Jokic, and he's thinking about it. And I don't blame him for thinking about it because these are two pretty good fantasy assets.
Yeah. I want to answer your question correctly. I'm going to take an updated look at Jimmy's stats here, and he's having himself a monster year.
Yes, he is.
It's really good right now for Jimmy Butler. And that's there's a couple things, though, that stand out for Jimmy Butler, aside from the Tibbs minutes. And that's really a big deal here because Chicago's season could go under at kind of any point in time. Now they're still in it right now, and that's actually a good spot because they need to be competitive, right? They need to still see the playoffs in front of them, and Jimmy Butler's never going to give up. He's going to go at it like a junkyard dog, but they could tip at any point in time. And if they start to tip and you're Jimmy Butler, and especially considering that the organization might even think about trading a Jimmy Butler, He's like the most attainable superstar out there, possibly. You know, we looked at this during the Cause and Brew show the other day. Is who's Boston really going to try to figure out? You know, to get a star in there, and you know, because it's not going to be Cousins. Jimmy Butler's kind of that only guy that we've looked at that seems like, you know, Chicago might be tired of him. Tibbs is out there willing to deal for him, you know, stuff like that. Anyway, Jimmy Butler hitting 89% of his free throws.
Yeah, that's
on
nice.
9.1 attempts per game. He's an 82% career shooter. Yes, players do shoot better when they shoot more, but there's regression written all over that. Everything else seems to be in the right spots for him. So really, we're just looking at a free throw regression and possibly a rebounding regression that if that, you know, if he goes down to 83% and he goes down to even if his attempts go down, you know, he could lose a good round of value. I do think he's kind of a top 12, top 16 guy when he's performing correctly, you know, kind of at expected levels. Jokic has the potential to be a top 5 fantasy play.
So you're going Jokic in that trade?
I am thinking about going Jokic.
Ooh, that's the least helpful thing you could have possibly.
I'm going to go Jokic. It's the free throw regression, and it's the Tibbs minutes, and it's the potential for that season to go upside down. I think that Denver has identified that Jokic is the future. He has the support of everybody in that city. His passing is off the hook. He's clearly the best player on that team. Like, I don't understand that how there could be an issue with him. Maybe he starts committing the stupid fouls and Malone's got to pull him back a little bit. But with 30 minutes per game, he can be a top 5 fantasy asset. I'm going to go Nikola Jokic.
And the crowd goes wild. Eric Hall would like to know if he should stash Kenneth Faried. Yes or no?
Nah.
Boom. 2 guys, by the way, commented on Fun Shirt Friday. I wanted to mention that. One of them said he owns the shirt. The other said it's terrible. Fine, I'll take it. It's 1 out of 2. Any idea when Victor Oladipo's coming back? And this is, of course, calls for us to kind of guess a little bit. But my best guess would actually be next week.
Yeah, I'm going to say he's got like an over-under of about 4 to 5 days.
Yeah, so we're getting there.
But sooner rather than later. But those wrist injuries, you understand why we've been harping on those for so many years.
Yep, they're a big deal. Do you think Marc Gasol and Mike Conley can keep up their current pace, or do you see them tailing off at all?
Oh, no. I mean, with Conley, it's possible that he has stepped into some sort of like, you know, productivity increase, but Gasol's definitely a sell high guy. I mean, I don't think that this infected toe is something that we should treat as like a massive injury. I think that once Conley comes back, you see no more Point Gasol. He comes back into being a top 30 guy, top 40 guy, versus right now he's putting up numbers that could theoretically be first round over the course of the rest of the year. So yeah, sell high on Marc Gasol. And with Conley, I'd sell high too, because he has played through everything and anything for years, and it's finally catching up with him. He's in the first year of his deal. They're not going to push him. They're winning without him, so why push him?
Yeah, good point. Thoughts on the Phoenix youth? We talked about the Alex Len situation, and he's not panning out the way they wanted. But what do you feel on Dragan Bender and Marquise Chris? How do they look for this year?
I think that we're gonna be calling their names in fantasy leagues in about late February, early March. But prior to that, not so much. So there's going to be a lot of hype. I mean, looking at the internet last night, I was really shocked when I saw Dragan Bender had 3 points, 3 boards, and like a steal or something. I mean, people are talking about him like, okay, and he's playing really well, and he's got this big future. I don't know. I mean, I agree with all that, by the way, but I was really shocked to see only 3 points and 3 boards when I looked at that stat line. So it's just a little early for both of them, but I think both have fantasy upside. So that's, in dynasty leagues, they should be owned, and so on and so forth.
Is this a sell high moment for Greg Monroe, or do you hold?
Oh, no. No, this is a buy low moment for Greg Monroe. And I mean, he's giving you top 100 numbers in the worst of situations. And I mean, I'm going to be a little shocked if he's not on the Pelicans at the end of the year, where he would be a perfect fit next to Anthony Davis. But yeah, I mean, he can only go up from here. He's a top 50 guy when he's playing 27 minutes a game. So, I mean, that's massive upside. Buy low, buy low, buy low. You can have him for a song right now.
Do you feel Malcolm Brogdon or Ty Lawson are interesting handcuff / short-term pickups?
I don't know who you're handcuffing. I guess Brogdon to like Giannis or something, but Brogdon's the guy there. I think that he's done everything, all the preseason hype people have expected from a reality perspective. I mean, fantasy hype was always misplaced to begin with, but now that he's had chances to develop, I don't know what his rankings are over like the last 2 weeks, but he seems to be a late round guy to me. So yeah, I'm on board with Brogdon. Now, I don't think you need to break your neck to add him. I think that he's probably more of a must-own player in 14 to 16 team leagues. But yeah, I'm buying what he's selling, and I think he's a good fit for that team. And I think that team is finally starting to kind of find their way, and he's definitely a part of that.
And then with Ty Lawson, do you like him as a short-term ad until the Kings figure it out, or no?
I just don't like his stat set. I mean, he really has to have the ball in his hands quite a bit to be kind of old Ty Lawson, and it's just not going to happen on this team with DeMarcus Cousins there. I mean, he's going to put up some good late round lines, and that's going to be sporadic. So I'm not getting on the Ty Lawson bandwagon at all. I don't think that he will be a late round asset at all this year.
A person asked a question about Nogueira, and I want to jump over to that because we did talk about him a decent amount during the bulk of the show. Do you feel similarly in head-to-head as you do in Roto with his value?
Yeah. Here's the thing, guys. These categories, they count, right? So when we look at a guy who doesn't put up volume, he still has a Z score. He still has a value in a statistical category. In this particular case, his value is that he doesn't move the needle negatively in those categories for you, because he doesn't take shots, or in those cases, he's actually moving them positively. But a lot of these guys that don't shoot a lot, they're not hurting you. So they're actually helping you by not hurting you. So when we look at these valuations, you just have to ask yourself, like, are you punting? Because punting is really the only thing that matters. If you're going to punt 3 categories so you can be very strong in 6 or 5 or 4, 5, probably be more appropriate, then, that's what we're looking at with kind of the head-to-head versus a Roto scheme, if you will. Now, a lot of people disagree with that, and I'm always open to hearing information as to why, the valuation of a low-volume player is different in a head-to-head league than it is in a Roto league. But to me, it really only comes down to whether you're punting or not. So I'm on a Bebe Nogueira. Yes, he's getting you, like last night, 0 points, 0 boards, but he got you 3 combined steals and blocks. It's kind of the same thing with Salah Mejri. He was sitting there at a top 100 level while Andrew Bogut was out. Based on the combined, I think he was getting like 1.5 steals and 1.5 blocks per game. Those stats count. And it's a kind of a small sample size of a week's worth of games for 10 to 13 players 3 times a week. You start doing the math there, and especially in steals and blocks where the numbers are so small, there's quite a bit of variation in what those stats or how they get compiled. I mean, your big blocks guy gets into foul trouble, and then they don't produce, and you're down 3 combined steals and blocks. What percentage of your weekly total is that? It's a sizable amount. So steals and blocks guys are real valuable. And the question is in a non-punting scenario, to somebody like a Bebe with 19 minutes a game and low points and boards totals and low assist totals and low popcorn numbers, does that person who appears to be only impacting 2 categories really, really strongly, are they good in head-to-head? I think it's a fascinating discussion because there's a lot of people on the other side of the line for that.
All right, we're just going to do just a couple of questions more here because we are definitely running low on time. I see that our viewership actually is up here as we head towards the end of the program, so I'd like to remind everybody that's watching right now to please subscribe to Fantasy NBA Today, the recorded versions that are available Monday through Thursday, well, Friday as well, but you got this live one on top of it. And please figure out a way, whether it's on your smartphone or whether it's using iTunes, to rate and review the program. He's at Aaron Bruski on Twitter. I'm at Dan Besbris on Twitter. Hoop-ball.com is the website. At Hoopball Tweets. Last couple of questions, Aaron. We'll knock these out, and then we'll wrap her up, and we can wish everybody a happy new year. Is Swaggy P fool's gold? He's still doing it, man. He's still hanging in there.
Yeah, he's fool's gold, but he's fun fool's gold. He'll be productive here probably for another couple weeks, but then I think after that he's done for.
What do you think about Alec Burks? Is he going to see any time with the Jazz? Oh, sad face, Bruski.
Hey, you know what? I feel bad for him, the player, because he got a lot of talent, you know, and he's not able to stay healthy to show it. And it's also a crowded situation.
To our good friend Show Me the Money, who asked a very complicated 3-for-3 trade offer, please take that one to the Hoopball Forum, because we're trying to go lightning round here, and those types of questions are very user specific. We'd love to address them. So again, go to hoop-ball.com, post it. We can sort of crowdsource that type of deal. And I did send my thoughts on Twitter as well. So we'll try to keep these questions a little more broad stroke, as it were. So thank you for the question, but we will not get to it on this program. The last question was about something that I guess you had mentioned on a rapid fire moment earlier on, where you called Rudy Gobert a top 60 guy. The guy says in your Bruski 150, you have him higher than that, and he's thinking maybe the wrong number just came out of your mouth in the heat of a moment.
I think he was. Yeah, I think I kind of remember saying that a couple weeks back. We didn't know what he was going to be. And I wanted to say I had him in like the 45 range of the Bruski 150. And I had brought him up because he looked like he had improved at a minimum his foul shooting, but also his kind of offensive feel. He looked like he had some spring. So I felt like I needed to pull him up at the very end there. And so I don't quote me, and I'm not looking at it, but I think it's top 45 in the Bruski 150. And he's been phenomenal this year. Off the top of my head, I want to say he is a top 30 guy right now. Rudy Gobert. Yeah, top 30. Yeah. And that's, you're seeing with 65% foul shooting and, you know, not having a major anchor there to his value, but still getting 12.3 points. He's making plays that you didn't see him make last year. So I think he keeps his current value at top 30 level. And yeah, you get after it. If people don't think that that's what he's worth, you know, get after it, because I think he's going to keep that up.
I would love to go out on the most interesting question of the show, but I'm going to go out on a question. It exists, and it's the last question on Fantasy NBA Today in the calendar year 2016. Would you rather have John Henson or Andrew Bogut the rest of the way?
It's a John Henson. Come on, guys.
I'm just going to keep I'm making these all up.
Are you making that up?
No, this is real. I just love questions where the correct answer is John Henson. You know how I feel about Johnny Boy. Although it turns out in that league where I was so early to grab him and looked like such a wise fellow, I'm so far behind everybody in blocks that it's probably not even worth hanging on to him for me anymore. I'm trying to trade him. Please subscribe to Fantasy NBA Today. Follow us on Twitter. Go to Hoopball. Do all the things that power our steam engine. And if you feel so inclined, get a premium membership too. Aaron Bruski, thank you so much for a wonderful 2016, and of course for this specific show. Have a fantastic New Year's Eve, everyone. Please, this is how I used to sign off in minor league ball, so I'm going to throw it back to my nostalgic sign-off. Whatever you may do, please do it safely. We want all of you guys alive in 2017 so we can get back at it. I'm Dan Besbris. He's Aaron Bruski. Have a great weekend. Have a wonderful New Year's. We'll talk to you in 2017.